Why does Gen Z look so old and aging like milk? I guess we'll find out what this guy has to say about it, but maybe stress, I think.
Why
A
does
lot
Gen
of it.
Z look so much older than their age?
Gen
I don't
Z is
know.
aging like a banana.
Gen Z is looking older these days.
Is
Yes, they
Gen
are.
Z aging faster?
So apparently Gen Z looks older than they actually are.
Whoa. What's with everyone saying Gen Z's looking old? Is
Probably because they are looking old, and probably because most of the Gen Zers online are looking like some 45-year-old, either housewife or house husband. Just saying.
this just the case of people picking on the younger generation? Or is
Nope.
there really something making Gen Z age faster than
Stress.
any generation before? Well,
Stress.
it's a lot more complicated than that, and I'm about to show you why. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Style Theory, the show that never ages. No, really, I'm stuck like this forever. But apparently, the same can't be said for one generation, Gen Z. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. It's been hard to ignore post after post after post.
Yeah, especially this guy. This guy came up, he had a post himself talking about this, and he was talking about how he aged so incredibly fast. I don't remember what his name was, but he looks like he could be my dad. I mean, he genuinely looks like he could be at least somebody in the 20s dad. Like, he looks like a 45-year-old man. Not that his style isn't basically dressing like that, but he does look like a much older gentleman. And you see this with a lot of the OnlyFans girls that just turned like 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, and are on the TikTok and Instagram platforms or YouTube Shorts and stuff. They all look like they could be well in their 30s. And people get a lot of work done, and that makes you look older too.
It's popping up on my feed saying Gen Z is looking kind of old. And before you go saying it's the older generation hating on the youth, even Gen Z itself is wondering what the heck's going on.
Hello,
Zendaya is
Zendaya.
older than me.
I'm not even gonna sit here and deny that I don't look old. I'm 23.
I thought she was early 30s.
Yeah.
I am 23.
Well, sit back
I saw that video with that girl. I'm 23. But she looks like she could be a friend of my mom. And I'm not trying to be mean or joking. She genuinely looks like she was like 40. Yeah, maybe a really hot 40-year-old. Or like a 30-year-old that, yeah, I can see 30 as well.
and put on a face mask because I'm about to solve the mystery. And to all my
Ooh.
Gen Z friends out there, get ready to take some notes. To figure out if Gen
Stress,
Z
baby.
is looking more mature, we first need to know how old they actually are. Technically speaking, to be considered Gen Z, you need to have been born between the years of 1997
I
and
think.
2012,
Yeah.
making the youngest of the group
Fun fact, my brother's born in 97, my oldest sister is born in 12. So they're both Gen Z. One of them looks like a millennial and the other one is looking like milk.
about age 12 and the oldest age 28. Now that's a pretty wide range, but before any preteens start rushing out to the stores to buy wrinkle cream, know that the people getting roasted for looking too overcooked are elder Zoomers, sitting roughly between the ages of 18 to 28. And though everyone may be talking about Gen Z looking old, no one has actually been able to pinpoint why until now. Today, I am taking you down the rabbit hole of what's making your BFF look like they're 52 instead of 22. Let's start with the one that keeps popping.
Stress. I think that could probably be most of the video. I think there's a lot of fluff here and I feel like it could all be summoned in a 2-minute video going, stress.
Up the most on my feed. The
Clothing as well, I
People
guess.
have been saying that Gen Z looks older than their age. I think a lot of this can be chalked up to them not necessarily looking like they're aging faster, styling themselves a lot older than their age.
Thanks to social media, and especially TikTok, Gen Z has taken over the world of fashion. They're buying
Fashion?
more ethical.
What do you mean fashion? They look like fucking oversized grandmothers. Like, this is not fashion. Like, I used to work a lot in the fashion industry. This to me is like, it's like going back to the 1920s on a farm. And I'm not saying the good farms, like the good 1920s. I'm not saying the rich ones. I'm saying the poor ones. It seems like burlap sacks and potato ones.
And sustainable items, thrifting from vintage stores, and upcycling old items from their closet and their families. More and more Gen Z are sourcing items from their parents and their grandparents, giving those old forgotten items a new life, meaning that their clothes are old.
No,
and so
that's not why they
are
look
their
old.
Style. Listen, Gen Z's been busy creating trend after trend after trend. Cottagecore, old money, dark academia, coastal
Old money isn't the fucking style they oh, fuck me. Old money, the whole point of old money is that it's old money. We're talking 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, UK, owning large lands and mansions, has nothing to do with them. Custodial grandma. Are you not saying that that was just somebody's grandma? Nothing to do with it. Dark academia. That's not the Gen Z thing. That came from anime. Have no... okay, let me go through everything. That came... Yeah, no. Dark academia, nope.
Cottagecore, old money.
Cottagecore, maybe that was a thing. But at the same time, what about the Wiccans? What about the Wiccans in the 70s and the 80s? What about the hippies? That's pretty much cottagecore.
Dark academia, coastal grandpa core.
Grandpa core, okay, I never heard of that. That sounds shit. Frazzled English woman. Frazzled English, isn't that fucking just a frazzled English?
Frazzled English woman? Yes, these are actual trends worn by actual people. So,
Jesus
do you
Christ.
see what links them all? Looking across this whole spectrum, I see one overarching theme: old. From the more fanciful, vintage-inspired looks of cottagecore to dark academia's use of blazers and tweed, it's...
I think this is a really bad point. I have seen people dress up in dark academia and look so youthful. I've seen people in what they called old money. Why do old money look old? They don't. Old money looks rich. That's the whole point of it. It's hiding in a sense that they're rich, but you can see that they're rich in a sense. That's the whole point of it. Maybe grandpa core and the old other one was something that actually they're trying to look old in. But to say that things like dark academia and old money is a trend that makes them look old. No, I don't think at all that's the case.
Blazers and tweed, it's not just that the clothes are old or that the styles are old. Even the fabrics that they're choosing to wear are old-timey. Gen Z is known for its love of loose, casual fits, and you see that at play here as well. From the slouchy pants of the grandpas and the loose flowing blouses of the grandmas to the large coats and cardigans.
But that girl didn't look old. Like, that girl might look older than her age, but she doesn't look old. Like, I can put myself in a bin bag and still look my age. Yes, I can dress up a little bit. Yes, I can dress down a little bit. Yes, I can shave myself. Styling is more important than the actual clothing. For example, if you have a big, large beard and you're like 18, you might look older. I had a friend of mine in school that looked like he could be like a well-built 30-year-old, and he was like 17. Of course, if he shaved himself, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm actually babyface." But
reminiscent of mid-2000s rom-coms. Everything harkens back to an older era, and that in and of itself gives Gen Z a feeling of being beyond their years. But clothes alone aren't the only thing that has the internet putting Gen Z on blast. So let's take a look at the other giant red flag, at least according to TikTok.
The reason that Gen Z looks so much older is because millennials was not allowed to wear makeup in middle school.
It's the amount of makeup that they wear and how good they are at it.
While the clean girl aesthetic that focuses more on natural looking makeup may be making the rounds right now, Gen Z is no stranger to going ham on the makeup. Data shows that Gen Z started wearing makeup around 11 years old, a whole 3 years earlier than when millennials started wearing makeup. Not only were they using makeup earlier, they had something that no other generation had before at that age:
YouTube?
The internet, and a slew of beauty influencers ready to teach them everything from how to find their perfect foundation shade to contouring their face for the gods.
Maybe this is a percentile, like percentile clothes, percentile makeup, percentile whatever she's about to talk about. But again, makeup will make you look older, 100%. But when you see Gen Z and you talk about, I'm not just talking about the girls, I'm talking about the men as well. They aren't using makeup. So that's not an argument. And the grandpa core thing, in my opinion, I feel like it's almost like you want to be ugly or you want to be something like different. Because if you think about it, grandpa core, if you saw the Italians in the 1920s and 30s, or even the Germany under the Second World War, they all looked stylish. So you can call it grandpa core, but you would wear a Hugo Boss suit in the Navy color, Army color.
Height of the YouTube beauty guru hit around 2010, when the oldest side of Gen Z was just turning 13 and starting to experiment with their personal expression via their makeup. So they turned to the popular faces of the time, your Miss Glamourazzi's, your Michelle Pfons, and of course, Zoella.
Hello, everyone.
This easy access to tutorials and product recommendations meant that Gen Z got a head start on every other generation when it came to developing their skills. And
Wait, so you're saying they look older because they're better at makeup? But that doesn't explain the men at all.
And it didn't stop there. Style icons on Instagram like Kim Kardashian were known for their sharp cheekbones and angular jawlines, which meant that when Gen Z was learning how to paint their face, they focused heavily on the contour. While this can make you look snatched, it can also make you look old. How? No, that's not just me making a weird sound. It's literally PFFT. Plumpness, firmness, folds, and texture. These are the 4 traits we as humans use to identify youthful skin. When we're young, our faces tend to be fuller, rounder, and more plump. This is because younger faces tend to hold more of one thing: fat. Yeah, those baby cheeks that your grandparents love to pinch and say, "Oh, you're so cute," look that way because of a healthy layer of fat under your skin. As you get older, this collection of fat starts to deteriorate, which then leads to a change in that youthful look. Your face will naturally start to become sharper as you get older. So all that contouring is doing is putting you on a bullet train to looking.
Again, this has nothing to do with any of the men looking old. And they do look old. And it has nothing to do with a girl that has no makeup on that looks old. And they do look old. I'm telling you, stress most likely.
More like your mom or dad, or your grandma and grandpa. And Gen Z is actually taking this to a bigger extreme: plastic surgery.
They started cosmetic injectables way too young. They didn't need to be getting 4 syringes of fillers in their face.
When it comes to cosmetic procedures, Gen Z is starting earlier than any other generation.
That makes sense.
Really.
That makes
As of
100%
February
sense.
of this year, 75% of plastic surgeons reported a spike in patients under 30. There are a few reasons for this. One is the increased
internet.
emphasis on
A lot of it is actually the internet and how a lot of Gen Zers look at, for example, Instagram, influencers, people that have money, people that are scamming you, telling you that the only thing that can make you happy is to be more beautiful, telling you that the only thing that you can do to improve yourself is to whatever different maxing you have. And you see men doing this now. They're like fucking breaking open their tibiae and their leg bones and putting extra bone between. So they're like height maxing, and they're like doing all sorts of stuff like the jaw maxing. You have a lot of the people have implants. You see people like the Liver King. He says, "Oh my God, look at me, I'm natural." But he was on so many steroids that they found out it cost him like $10,000 a month. Plus, he most likely, I'm almost 100% certain, has an abdominal implant, because nobody's abs look flexed at all times. It's just, if you take yourself now, you open up and you see yourself and you flex your abs, you'll see your abs if you have low body fat percentage, or at least feel them. And then you relax and you can't really feel them properly, and you can't really see them, because your abdominals are a muscle like your biceps. When it's relaxed, you won't see it. When it's activated, you will see it, right? So a lot of these cosmetic surgeries are due to pressure, due to Instagram, due to everybody thinking, "Oh my God, you have to do this. If not, you're not beautiful. You have to do this. If not, you're not following the right trends. You're not good enough as you are." And actually, I would say that you probably are. Do the best you can. Work out. Get skinny, or like fit, in a good shape. Be good for your own life and be good for your own health. I would say that's probably the best advice I could give to any of the younger Gen Zs.
skincare over the past 3 to 5 years. Then you have the fact that most procedures are cheaper now than they ever have been before. And of course, you have the fact that Gen Z has grown up as the most visible generation in history, thanks to social media. And that comes with a lot of pressure. The most common procedures for Gen Z include Botox, fillers, and cheek implants that help give you a more pronounced cheekbone. All things that again help play into that very sculpted look made popular on Instagram and TikTok. And all of that is not even mentioning the most popular procedure of the past couple years, buccal fat removal.
Yeah,
For
that's
those of
another
you
one.
who
That's a big one.
haven't heard of it, it is a procedure that removes a specific pocket of fat from your lower cheek and thus makes your face appear slimmer. This procedure has actually existed for decades, but it exploded in popularity recently thanks to the rise of the influencer face. That same sculpted, angular look that started with the rise of contouring. You even see it now in almost every IG and TikTok filter. And Gen Z, the first generation to grow up fully online, is turning it into their reality. Case in
Yeah, the same with like places like South Korea. South Korea, the amount of plastic surgery is so pronounced. It's incredible. It's like most young girls get like some sort of surgery before they're 20. It's like 1 out of 4 or something. It's a pretty high number. I don't quite remember the number, but I was watching a video in Korea, and that's where they were talking a lot about it. Yes, you also have the BBL, which has become really, really widespread. You have a lot of surgeries, and if you want to do surgeries, I mean, go for it. It doesn't make me a problem. It doesn't make me I have an issue with it. I mean, I don't have an issue with it. But at the same time, if you don't need it, that's a different case. Like a lot of people already have a great body or a great butt, or they could just train a bit more and they'd look great. But then they go the surgery route because they don't want to do those things. That's when I would recommend you not do it. But like if you have a large nose and you want a rhinoplasty, like who am I to tell you that you shouldn't be happy with a nose? Do what you want. Yath.
point, Kylie Jenner, who many call
She's
out
so
as
ugly.
the poster board for changing your face with
Yep,
cosmetic surgery.
100%.
Kylie, like the rest of Gen Z, has been trolled online for looking much older than her natural
Holy shit, she's only 26?
because she's lost that youthful factor thanks to the cosmetic procedures and the makeup that she wears. And no,
If I'm not mistaken, that looks like the Spanish influencer, not Kylie, but yeah, they made a Spanish influencer. I think it was an AI Spanish influencer that was based on, I think, the Kardashians and like the beauty standards of Spain, and it looks very similar to the image with the pink hair. So it's yeah, it's creepy and eerily good. The influencer, it's like become like a big thing on Instagram.
no shade here. I'm not weighing in on her choices or if I personally find it appealing. It's just hard to say that this hasn't had an effect on how old she appears.
Yeah,
Yet,
that's
while
true.
cosmetic procedures can put a band-aid on issues, the long-term effects could actually make signs of aging worse. According to the Illuminate Skin Clinic, while Botox may halt creasing effects of the muscles on the skin, long-term overuse can sometimes weaken the muscles, causing
Yeah,
them to
that would
waste
make
away.
sense. Because Botox was made for people with muscle contractions. Like, you know, when a muscle contracts or you have spasms a lot, it was actually made to relax the muscle and get it used to stop contracting. So they took this technology and put it in the forehead so you couldn't crease it or make any... Because what happens when you do that is that the skin has to fold. So the reason why you have the folds in the arms is the same reason. So you're closing your arm, and you see where the folds are happening, right? That's where you get those skin creases. And that's the same idea that happens in your forehead or around your eyes and your smile. That's why you have the nice smile wrinkles. And I think women with smiling wrinkles are super charming. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think they're much more beautiful when they can move their faces. And yeah, there's one thing if you have like large, like stressed, you know, I can get you putting a little bit of Botox in there, but I wouldn't ever overuse it, and I wouldn't ever recommend people doing it in general, because I think it's so much more beautiful when somebody can be expressive.
elasticity is lost, and you may start to notice deepening lines and wrinkles.
Interesting.
Yes, your preventative care could actually hurt you in the long run. And doing it younger, like in your early 20s or earlier, could cause even more hazards, like the thinning of your skin, which can lead to sagging and wrinkles appearing earlier than they may have without the procedure. Talk about a double-edged sword, or scalpel. Still, not all of Gen Z is going under the knife, so once again, we are left with a missing piece of this puzzle. What is that missing piece, you might ask?
Stress. They've grown up on social
that's what I
media,
thought.
which we all know impacts not.
If you were going to sum this whole video up in one thing, and I said it from the beginning, it's stress. Gen Z has more stress than most generations ever. When I'm saying that, it's not that they had more stress put upon them in a worldly sense, like you have to go to work and you have to make money, but you have more stress in form of pressure. Societal pressures, physical pressures, peer pressure. You don't have time to relax when you go home, right? You go home and what happens? You are constantly being bombarded online. If you're being bullied, you're constantly being bullied. You're bullied on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter, all of these places which didn't used to be a platform before. And people used to go home and they could relax and they could like paint or mold something or make something beautiful, get out the frustration and power through to the next day. Isn't happening anymore. Because now you get that at home, you get it everywhere. Now you also have societal pressures, or your boobs aren't perfect because this Instagram influencer has better boobs than you. Your ass isn't perfect because this Instagram influencer has a better butt. And what's the problem? Those Instagram influencers have used surgery to enhance themselves. So now you see it in a skewed view. You have a naturally beautiful body. Man or woman, don't matter. But the men want to be stronger and look like Henry Cavill and take injections and superhero hormones, let's call them. And women want to look like Kim Kardashian, but they can't because they don't have the implants, they don't have the surgeries, they don't have the thousands upon thousands of hours of learning about all the small minuscule details because they sit in taking a picture every day. And then they don't have Photoshop skills because that's the last thing there. Because you go online and you see these influencers and what do? They Photoshop. They Photoshop a lot.
Mental health. And on top of that, the pandemic, I think that really did a number on them.
Did a number on everybody, yeah.
Because of the stress. Come here.
Yeah.
Stress, my dear friend, we meet again. Now, the truth is, our dear Zoomers are no stranger to stress. Yep, we have to talk about COVID. When it comes to generations impacted by the pandemic, Gen Z sits at the tippy top of that list. For most of them, it hit during a key developmental point of their life, the time where they were learning to connect with their peers, process increased responsibility, and develop their own sense of self, a time when they were most vulnerable. Stress can do a number on your body. It can lead to thinning hair, changes in your skin like inflammation, increased acne and rosacea.
Stress is probably the number one undiagnosed and untreated killer. There's so much that can happen with you as a human being stressed. You have a cortisol that's being released. Cortisol. It's either cortisone or cortisol. I don't remember which one it was, but one of those hormones is being released during stress, and it's basically like a fight or flight instinct. So when you are having this hormone, you're in constant like, oh my god, fight or flight, right? And it's a beautiful hormone because it's supposed to give you a rush of energy and rush of I gotta go. But a prolonged amount of this hormone is really bad for you. And that's when you have all these things like deterioration. If you ever see like a lion or a monkey or somebody in a zoo where they're stressed and they start pacing and they start losing patches of hair and start biting themselves or self-harming, that's one of the reasons why it's happening.
And yes, it can cause you to look older. Stress makes a cell in our body, known as the skin mast cell, activate and produce a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol, among other things, can cause your body to stop producing collagen. However, Gen Z is not the only generation to go through a large-scale traumatic event during their developmental years. Millennials went through 9/11, the war that followed, and a major recession. Gen X went through the Gulf War, while baby boomers had Vietnam and the assassination of JFK JFK, just to name a few. So, what makes what Gen Z is going through any different? According to them, it's the amount of stress. Multiple studies have shown that Gen Z says that it feels more stressed and more depressed than previous generations.
That could also be a mentality thing. And you guys might think I'm mean for this, but this is most likely one of the truths. The hardships that Gen Z go through are very different. And I would say they're very, very mental of sorts. For example, what I said before about the internet. The hardships are large, but they are the internet. They aren't being beaten at home. And some people it works for, and some people it doesn't work for. That's just the truth. You need a spanking sometimes. I needed a spanking. If I didn't have some of the spankings, my brother needed a spanking, right? It happens that you need it. But they are so incredibly safe. There's very little negative that's happening around it. And I'm saying, yeah, you know the Ukraine war now, but it's so far removed because there are so many things that happen online. However, the stress that they get from seeing all the negative news constantly does degrade both your mind and your body a lot. But they haven't really had that the physical expenditure and stress because they live in a world where everything is catered to them. In Norway, you're not allowed to touch your kids. You're not allowed to threaten your kids with basically any particular punishments. And I think a parent's job is to raise its child to become as self-sufficient and as beautiful of a human as possible. And I'm talking of a beautiful of a mentality. And without giving people consequences to their actions, it is very difficult to do so. And you see this with a lot of TikTokers, a lot of YouTubers, all these kids that are like doing whatever they want, clout chasing. You see that with the Jack Dohertys that just crashed his whatever car, McLaren, I think it was. Or you see this with the Neons and all these streamers that are just doing things all the time and not getting any consequences because people are afraid of them getting backlash consequences by doing anything to them. Or the Johnny Somalis was now finally getting consequences, but he didn't get consequences for many years. So yeah, I think a lot of it is they haven't gone through hardships and they had it so easy and now they're hitting some sort of wall.
Especially when it comes to things like work, money, and health. And that makes sense. We are talking about a generation who's come into adulthood during a recession, a pandemic, political distress, and an environmental crisis. The downside is that claiming the title of most stressed generation doesn't come with a shiny crown, it comes with wrinkles. So, what's the final verdict? Has Gen Z cursed itself to looking forever old? Well, don't start picking out your burial plots yet, Zoomers, because the answer is no. You see, this idea around Gen Z looking old is just that, an idea that has been repeated generation after generation.
None of these concerns are new. I was watching In the City, and they run into a group of 13-year-olds, and they're all like, they look like they're in their 20s.
Sure, right now our sights are set on Gen Z, but before that, it was whether or not millennials looked older than the kids of today.
Why do these teenagers look so much older?
We give so much TV and movie producers for hiring 30-year-olds, but apparently when they were in high school, everyone looked 30.
And before that, we were...
I remember that era. That was just bad casting. I remember the era of a lot of these that 70s and stuff. The people were in their 20s.
We're talking about Gen X and baby boomers looking older when they were younger. The truth is, people are not aging faster or slower than previous generations. So what really has people thinking Gen Z is looking old? It's the fact that we as humans are bad at identifying age based on sight alone.
I just don't have a perception of age. Either you look really young or you look really old. Anything in between that, I'm just gonna assume you're my age. I just can't tell the difference.
A study from 2018 found that on average, when people tried to guess someone's age, they were about 8 years off, which is about the range of mistaking a 22-year-old Zoomer for a 30-year-old millennial, wouldn't you say? It doesn't stop there though. That same survey found that we are more likely to guess that a younger person is older and vice versa, due to our own internal biases.
I mean, that could be a truth, but I don't think that's the whole truth. I really think it's a lot of stress. I have a lot of Gen Z friends, and they look terrible. They do. I looked terrible at 16, and I looked fine at 18. So, I mean, I've looked the same age the whole way through, almost. Like if you go and I used to model a bit, and I have a model portfolio. I look the same age the whole way through, like literally the same person. But at 16, yeah, I did look old. I'm not gonna lie. At 16, I looked old, but at 19, I looked the same age as normal.
You see, we judge faces based on other faces we've seen recently. And what
Of course.
faces are we seeing now more than ever? Millennials and Gen Z are two chronically online generations. Yes, we are so oversaturated with our own faces thanks to social media that it has skewed how we perceive each other and how others perceive us. Unlike in the past, where situational context and in-person conversation could clearly help
Yep,
draw
that's
that
true.
generational
That's
line,
true.
we're all just shouting into a context-free void of endless scrolling faces. Add in all those other factors we discussed today that help to blur the lines between one generation and another, and it's no wonder that no one knows how old anyone is anymore. So, whether you're a Zoomer or a Millennial, a Gen X or a Baby Boomer, remember, age is just a number, and we shouldn't be fighting each other about who looks older than who, because Gen Alpha is coming for all of us. But hey, that's just a theory, a style theory. Keep looking sharp. And if you've ever...
I mean, it's interesting. I don't agree with most of it, but it's a well-made video, and I think you guys should give her a like.